We're going to get into our usual episode of Your Take, Not Mine very soon, don't you worry, just bear with me for a second because I have a very exciting announcement to make before we get into those hot takes. I'm working together with Raptive to start my own basketball-centric community on their platform, and I'm looking forward to all of you coming along for the ride. Basically, what it is a social media hub, probably similar to social media platforms that you're already using, where you can make written and video type posts, make live streams, host live discussions, and all of the like. And those of you who join us right away will have the luxury of becoming community leaders in there, where you get to post content with top priority, and you will have direct access to exclusive content from myself and others for even more basketball content for everybody. For example, this Your Take Not Mine hot take series I've been doing for a while will now probably give members in that community the top priority for their submissions for the series, so if you want to be featured in future episodes moving forward, come join us and come along for the ride, because that's where the posts will be, and that's where I will be grabbing the submissions from. I'll have more updates for all of you very soon, but in the meantime, head down to either the description of this video or the pinned comment where I have linked the submission form to join as a community leader, and if you fill that out, go put all your information in, and you should be welcomed in within a few days. I really think we're going to have a lot of fun in there, and I can't wait to see you in there too. Now, with that being said though, let's get back to the hot takes. The first take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Benny, and he says that Ace Bailey is exactly what the Jazz needed and is already the team's best player, set to become the face of the franchise as they rise into contention over the next few years. So Ace Bailey has been on fire to start the preseason, dropping an efficient 25 points and then 20 points back to back. And after all of the madness that was the Ace Bailey saga leading up to the draft and in the months afterward, he's been doing everything he can to silence his doubters. Hands up, there is no denying it. I myself have been one of those big doubters throughout this process, which many of you probably are already aware of, so now the bigger conversation sparked from this becomes, was I wrong about Ace Bailey? There's a lot that goes into answering that, so let's address this head on, no backpedaling or hiding from my previous takes. Going all the way back to the beginning of my clear wariness about Bailey's upside, my biggest reasons for feeling that way stemmed from his lack of a useful handle off the dribble, which led to pretty poor shot quality very often when he was at Rutgers due to his inability to create much separation from his defender. His poor shot selection as a result of that oftentimes forced bad, tightly contested shots from the perimeter, and the fact that statistically he was getting to the rim the least often amongst all of the top prospects in the draft class. And a lack of rim pressure is always going to be a red flag for a score-first talent. I never once questioned Ace's overall ability to shoot the basketball, and many times made it clear in both tweets and in my videos that the things that he does well include spotting up off the ball and knocking down shots off the catch, moving around and cutting off the ball to find space for quick actions and decisive 1 or 2 dribble pull-up jumpers, and he's also a solid rebounder for a forward. I was also admittedly very concerned about whether Bailey would willingly embrace a role that focused strictly on playing to his strengths, because when you're hyped up as a dominant scorer being compared to some all-time greats, you're going to want the ball in your hands, and self-creation like that just isn't something that Bailey necessarily excels at. Plus, he himself has spoken openly about wanting to be that kind of player. Now, as all of you are seeing in the footage on your screen, because I am using Ace's preseason footage for this segment, the Jazz are brilliantly utilizing Bailey in a role that exclusively plays to his strengths. And he is not only willingly accepting his role in the lineup doing this, but he is flat out dominating. Every single shot he's hitting, as you can all see, is either a shot off the catch or a quick one dribble pull-up look without any overthinking or over-dribbling being done. Jazz coach Will Hardy is brilliantly deploying him, and he deserves a ton of credit for seeing Bailey for what he is and immediately putting him in positions to succeed. So for that alone, I do have to admit that I was was wrong, because I didn't think that Bailey would willingly reel back his shot selection so quickly. Where I think it's still way too early to take any victory laps, though, is about whether Ace himself is actually a star in the making, because it is literally preseason basketball, which has proven every year to be almost completely meaningless. Also, it's just not sustainable to be dropping over 20 points every single game purely on quick catch-and-shoot looks. The way he's playing right now is similar to Michael Porter Jr., who is an outstanding shooter of the basketball that thrives moving without the ball and lacing shots off the catch and off quick one-dribble pull-ups. Nobody rightfully views Michael Porter Jr. as a star in the league because he struggles with the same things that Bailey struggles with, not quite being shifty enough on the ball to create separation and create quality looks for himself from the perimeter or at the rim. Bailey can absolutely be a very good player in the NBA for a long time, but I still hold firm that he will need to improve on those glaring weaknesses that are still there if he wants to actually reach the star upside that many believe he has. The next take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Sean, and he says that the Warriors will miss the playoffs, or at most be a play-in team with an older roster and limited depth. Look, I get it. The Warriors barely did anything this offseason and let the Jonathan Kuminga restricted free agency saga hijacked their entire summer, so I get why there's a sour taste in the mouths of most fans regarding their outlook moving forward. They were basically that kid in school that never participates in class, procrastinates every chance he gets, and then does his homework absolute last minute on the bus ride to school the next morning. The thing is though, that kid oftentimes still finds a way to get good grades, and that metaphor basically translates exactly to how I feel about the Warriors now that the dust has settled. Yes, the Warriors waited until the absolute last minute to make all of their moves, but when you look at what they were able to do, it's actually a pretty solid continuation of the momentum that they built last season. Last year, they took their big swing by acquiring Jimmy Butler, and after trading for Butler, they finished that season with the third best record in the league, with the #1 ranked defense after the All-Star break. This summer, they then replaced Kevon Looney with Al Horford, who may be old but has proven year after year he can still bring it as a floor-spacing defensive anchor. They also signed Steph Curry, who literally just led the NBA in three-point percentage last season and comes with an obvious synergy with his brother Steph, and they also brought back DeAnthony Melton, who has been a long-time reliable 3-and-D guard in the rotation of countless playoff teams, albeit he hasn't been able to stay healthy over the last few years. Yes, of course, they are very old. I'm not here to dispute that. The way their playoff run ended last season was a direct result of Steph Curry getting injured, so of course, when your core is as old as theirs is, injuries are always going to be a concern. But I simply cannot get on board with the idea that they're going to miss the playoffs entirely when we literally just witnessed this version of the Warriors dominate the league last season. And finally, the last take we'll be discussing today comes to us from LS, and he says that the Phoenix Suns will be better this season than they were last year with Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. So the Suns' Big Three experiment crashed and burned after just 2 years together, with the trio failing to win a single playoff series together, and last year they missed the playoffs and play-in tournament entirely. Admittedly, the bar to clear is pretty low, but in a conference as stacked as the West is, most people rightfully look at this group as one that will finish near the bottom of the standings. But do they have a chance to accomplish more? They seem to be viewed as a rebuilding team, yet they're still a fairly old roster with a ton of veteran talent that still wants to win. Devin Booker is one of the best guards in the NBA, Dylan Brooks has been one of the best tone setters on some of the league's best defenses, Mark Williams just had the best season of his career last year in Charlotte, Grayson Allen is still one of the league's best volume three-point shooters, and Jalen Green is trying to repair his reputation as a viable volume scorer after flaming out in the playoffs for the Rockets last year. I don't believe for a second that the Suns are intending to tank or rebuild at all this season. I just don't think their roster is good enough to keep up with the rest of the teams around them, which may force them to reroute and change their plans by the trade deadline. Raw rookie Kaman Maluach will begin the season coming off the bench behind Mark Williams, but Williams has yet to actually be able to hold up physically for a whole season, which could accelerate Maluach's timeline. Their point guard position is incredibly weak, and if I'm being honest, I don't think their ceiling even approaches the play-in tournament range of the standings, with it being way more likely that they become sellers at the trade deadline to offload their veteran talent to playoff contenders that need more help. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the takes discussed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.